In this piece, I want to talk about lending at 80% loan to value. We're all used to lenders having a ceiling of 75%. That's almost the norm. Landlords certainly would usually be looking, particularly if they buy in, to put a 25% deposit down if possible. I want to just focus a little bit on 80% borrowing, because this is a real segment within the mortgage market that is a barometer for property market values and where lenders think that property prices are going. If we just rewind a little bit back to September 22, we saw, after Liz Truss and her legacy meant that property prices really got shaky and started to drop. And there was a few commentators out there saying, oh, this is the beginning of the end. Property prices are going to tumble. We're going to see 15, 20% drop in property prices. And at that point, what I was also seeing is lots of lenders withdrawing from this 80% market. And fair enough, a lot of uncertainty. They don't know what's going to happen to property prices. They're not going to take a risk. Why would they? So they pull those deals. So why I keep a finger on this particular pulse is that Accord, and they're not the only lender, we're now seeing a trickle of lenders coming back into this market. So that's where I think this is really good, really positive news for landlords. The message we can take away from this is that the banks, the lenders out there are feeling confident that property prices are stabilized now, and therefore they can come back into the 80% market. So Accord, one example, literally just this week, they've now relaunched back into this market. They were there last year when Liz Truss and Crazy Quark 10 launched that mini budget. Accord pulled the deals at 80%, and now literally they've come back this week, and they are one of, as I say, a number of lenders that are doing that. On this particular deals that they've got, both 2-year and a 5-year deal, 5.39 and 5.29, whether it's a 2-year or a 5-year fix, which I think is a really good rate. As I've said previously, you've got to look beyond the rate. What are the fees they're charging? Because sometimes lenders are trying to give you some great headline rates, but then the arrangement fees are eye-wateringly high. Accord, no, not at all. 995, that's probably as low as you're going to get. So just about £1,000. It's a fixed fee. So again, the higher you're borrowing, the lower, relatively speaking, those arrangement fees tend to be. And for reasons that only the marketing department of Accord can explain, they're charging you £1,000 and they're going to give you £500 cash back. So go figure, but that's obviously a marketing ploy there. So actually it's a net £500 arrangement fee. So pretty good deal. I would say, but the message is more wider than just Accord, by saying that the high street banks and the experts, economists, and people that really monitor property fluctuations, trends, and valuations are seeing that it's absolutely stable, and we're back to sort of normal sort of property sort of figures. Now, lenders that are active at 80%, again, this is just a snapshot in the last few days. If you are buying or refinancing in personal name, we've got about 18. If you're in a limited company, we're at 7. So again, that trend is, as I said, is an upward trend. So I'd expect over the next month or two, even more lenders coming into this market. So fantastic. If you're looking to buy, and you think, well, I can get away with a 20% deposit instead of 25%. If you were buying at £200,000, for example, then that's £10,000 you can keep in your pocket. That's a pretty big chunk of change that you can use for your own purposes, that you can use on improvements, etc., etc. So not to be sniffed at. But here's the paradox. Here's the thing. Most lenders that portfolio landlords will be talking to and hoping to lend from are not high street banks. They are what they call non-banking lenders, specialist lenders, and they are predominantly, and I just want to underline this, not all of them, so this can be a get out of clause that I'll come back to in a second, but the majority of them are regulated by an authority called the PRA, the Prudential Regulation Authority. The point I'm making here is that it's this authority that are dictating to the specialist lenders, the lenders that you guys generally go to, about the rules and the due diligence and the tests and checks that they have to make on you as portfolio landlord. So here's the important point, that when you are, say, purchasing a property and you're thinking, I want to put 20% deposit down. So the lender's dangling this carrot saying, I've got an 80% mortgage that you might be interested in. The lender is duty bound to do some background checks on your portfolio in the background. And if the aggregate loan to value on the background portfolio is over 75%, is the irony, you're highly likely to get declined. Go figure. So hence I'm saying this is a paradox. We've got lenders saying, oh, go on, take one of our 80% deals, very competitive. But if your background portfolio in aggregate terms seems to be exceeding 75%, and they'll include the one, if you're buying one at 80%, that'll probably get added to the figures as well. So it's going to push the overall aggregate up a little bit more. If that's over 75%, that is deemed unhealthy and you're likely to get declined. So the one final point, if you're, as a landlord, that you are highly geared, and let's say you are on average above 80% or above 75%, my apologies, there are a few of these specialist lenders that are not regulated by the PRA. And so as a broker, we should understand that. If you're going to a specialist broker, and if you come to us with that scenario and your background portfolio is highly geared, then really we're going to be knocking on the doors of this small number of lenders that are not regulated. So there is still potentially a way forward, because these that are not regulated have got discretion to still approve you. They still possibly take a look at your background portfolio, but it's not as strict as those that are with a PRA. So if you are looking at putting a 20% deposit down, you want us to look at your background portfolio, there'll be a link to our online diary. Just have a chat with us. There's no obligation, no commitment, no cost. Have a natter, see if you'd still be eligible, or if any of this might affect you, and we'd be happy to help.